The job was supposed to be simple. Kill the prince. Get paid. Disappear. But when Selene Vale, the most feared assassin in the kingdom, crept into the royal chambers, she found something she never expected. Prince Kael was already dying. Poisoned. Gasping for breath. His dark eyes met hers. Instead of fear, there was only resignation. "If you're here to kill me," he rasped, "you're late." Selene hesitated. Assassins weren't supposed to ask questions. But something about this felt wrong. That night, instead of taking his life, she made a choice that would change everything. She would save him. And in doing so, she might have just signed her own death warrant. Kael was not like the other royals. He had spent his life hiding a secret, one that had already cost him everything. The poison in his veins wasn't just an attempt on his life. It was a message. Someone inside the palace wanted him erased. Selene had spent years running from her past, but Kael made her feel something she hadn't in a long time, a purpose. "You don't know what you're doing," Kael warned her. "Saving me is a death sentence." Selene smirked, twirling a dagger between her fingers. "Then I guess we're both living on borrowed time." With an assassin by his side, Kael swore to uncover the truth. What neither of them knew was that the real enemy was already watching. The deeper they dug, the clearer it became. Kael's poisoning wasn't a mistake. His own brother, Crown Prince Aldrich, was behind it. Aldrich had been planning a coup, a silent one. He knew Kael had uncovered something that could destroy the monarchy, a secret war waged in the shadows for centuries. Selene and Kael needed proof. And the only way to get it was to break into the royal archives. But the night of the heist, everything fell apart. Betrayed. Surrounded by guards. And worst of all, Selene had been set up. Kael watched as she was dragged away in chains, his heart hammering in his chest. He had trusted her with his life. Now, she would pay the price. Selene had been captured before. But this time was different. This time, Kael wasn't coming to save her. She was shackled in the dungeons, accused of attempting to assassinate the prince, the very man she had saved. Aldrich visited her, his cold smile sending chills down her spine. "I should have killed you the moment I saw you," he murmured. The execution was set for dawn. But at midnight, a shadow slipped into her cell. Kael. Bloody, breathless, desperate. "I'm getting you out," he whispered. Selene stared at him. "You shouldn't be here." "I should have never let them take you," he admitted. "I'd rather die fighting for you than live knowing I let you burn." Selene had spent years believing love was a weakness. Maybe she had been wrong. They ran. Through the tunnels beneath the palace, past the guards, past the life they once knew. The only way out was through. Aldrich and his men were waiting at the gates. "You never knew your place, Kael," Aldrich sneered. "Now you'll die for it." Kael raised his sword, but before he could strike, Selene threw her dagger. Straight into Aldrich's heart. His body hit the ground. The soldiers hesitated. Kael turned to Celine, eyes wide. You. I told you, she murmured. I finish what I start. For the first time in years, she wasn't running. For the first time, she had something worth fighting for. And she wasn't about to lose it. The coup had failed. Aldrich was dead. The king, poisoned long ago, had already faded. The kingdom was left in chaos. Kael was the last heir. But when the crown was offered to him, he only said 4 words. I don't want it. He had never wanted to rule. He had only wanted the truth. And now that he had it, there was only one thing left to do. He turned to Celine. Come with me. She hesitated. For the first time in her life, she had no contract, no master, no orders. Only a choice. Her fingers brushed his. Wherever you go. As the kingdom burned behind them, they vanished into the night, together. No longer assassin and prince. Just 2 ghosts escaping a kingdom of ashes.